Last night, Trump cancelled scheduled strikes on Iran, and now today we're seeing a MOU come into picture. And according to the MOU, US will be lifting sanctions on Iranian oil. Secondly, they will be recalling their forces from the Strait of Hormuz and will be ending the naval blockade. Also, they'll be giving access to the Iranian side to $16 billion fund and will be unfreezing some of their assets. So this is what I see floating around on the news. And from the Iranian side, what we have seen so far is just that they'll be reopening the Strait of Hormuz, which to me seems like Trump is kind of backing down because this war started. Before this war started, the Strait of Hormuz was anyways open. But because of this war, now this seems to be a concern. And we're not really talking about the reason as to why this entire war started, which is again the nuclear enrichment and the uranium from the Iranian side. So we're not really seeing any talks being held on that right now. uh, so this kind of feels like to me that Trump is kind of backing down. But anyways, let's see how the market is reacting to this. Now, markets are again pricing in a deal between the US and Iran because now it seems like that is where we are going. Plus, we also have the SpaceX IPO today, so that will also be something that is very interesting, and we'll also talk about that in great detail. So let's go on and let's move into the video and see how markets are reacting to this news. Before we get into this video, I would just like to give a disclaimer that everything that I'm sharing here in this video is not supposed to be taken as financial advice. I'm just sharing my thoughts and opinions, and जो चीज़ें मैं अपने trading account में कर रहा हूँ, that is all that I'm sharing here. And before making your own financial decisions, you should consult your own financial advisor. And the only reason as to why I'm making this video is just for educational purposes and information purposes. So yeah, that's that. And now let's get into the video. So let's start with the Nasdaq. In the Nasdaq, we can see that yesterday we had a very big update, and this was of course because of the optimism around the deal between US and Iran. And हम आज देख पा रहे हैं कि हम ये जो previous high है इसको यहाँ पे test कर रहे हैं. So let's see how price action goes. But I just wanted to talk about the SpaceX IPO because I think it's very important that I talk about that. So as for me, मैं actually IPOs में participate नहीं करता हूँ unless it's a company that I really really like. And कोई भी ऐसी company जो list हुई होती है तो मैं उसको usually नहीं touch करता हूँ because I want a company that's at least been listed on the exchange for at least 3 years before I kind of enter a position or even think about entering a position in that. But there have been exceptions to this rule of mine, and I have kind of bought into stocks after they have IPO'd or as they were IPOing. So as for the SpaceX IPO, to me, it just doesn't sound like a very good deal because we're seeing a very high valuation from this company, a 1.75 trillion, if I'm correct, and that kind of a valuation for the revenue that they're generating is just, I don't know, it's just crazy numbers. And yeah, I don't know, it IPO is also like it's designed to benefit the shareholders of the company, the existing shareholders of the company. And it's just that way because finally क्या होता है कि जो current shareholders होते हैं, they want to exit with their profits. And I think उस time पे companies usually go public because they want that liquidity and they want to be able to sell their positions to someone. And I think then that becomes retail or new funds or new people coming in and buying the stock so that old ones and the old existing shareholders can exit. And I just don't really like how this IPO system is designed to benefit the existing shareholders. So I am not really interested in participating. Plus I feel like the valuation is just too high for me. And yeah, so let's because this SpaceX is already 1.85 trillion. It has a valuation of 1.75 trillion or 1.85 trillion. I'm not really sure, but it's around that number. So for it to double, for the stock price to double, it would have to go to I don't know, around 3.6 trillion, and that just sounds just too much. I don't think this market can support that much kind of liquidity, and that kind of money isn't really in the Nasdaq right now. And yeah, to me, just I don't really know how it will do when it lists on the markets today, but to me, it just doesn't sound like a good idea, so I will not be participating. uh Plus I think it feels kind of, I don't really want to use that word, but it kind of feels bubbly, because a 1.75 trillion dollar valuation for a company that's generating such a low revenue. I think it's generating around $20,000. I'm not really sure about that, but I know for a fact that it's a very low revenue company. So I just don't think that it makes sense for a company like that to be listing at such a high valuation just because it does something around AI. So yeah, I don't know. So I will not be participating. So talking about the dollar, I still like the dollar towards the upside, because uh, the data that we've received this week. Let's talk about first CPI. CPI was kind of neutral, but then PPI was kind of hot, but not really. And then unemployment claims were 229K, if I'm not wrong. So they were uh, worse than what was expected for the US economy. But I still think that US dollar has room towards the upside, just because of the macro environment that we have right now and the data that we've been receiving. Higher inflation seems to be the main thing here. But then we also have the labor market holding up, and growth metrics have been fine. So I have my eye on the dollar, and I think we uh, test the 100.5 level that is somewhere around here, and then from there I think either we reject and go lower, or we go higher and then kind of rally in the dollar. So that would be my base case. But as for me, my bias on the dollar remains bullish, and I have that supported with my short trades in EU and GU. So let's talk about that now. uh Let me move on to that. Okay, so एक्चुअली जीबीपी यूएसडी एंड यूरो यूएसडी दोनों में ही मैंने कल पार्शल्स ले लिए थे, because we were testing a key level of support. So before that happened, I took some partials just to secure some profits. So जीबीपी यूएसडी के अंदर मैंने यहाँ पे प्रॉफिट लिया था. I took about $41 in this trade, and then it bounced off after Trump tweeted about the deal. uh, so इसके अंदर I'm still waiting for lower prices. Now I'll wait for TP2 to hit before I close this entire position. I have about 0.05 lot size still running in this trade. And then if I move over to EU, so in EU also I took profits here yesterday at TP1, and इसके अंदर I booked around 25 to $26. uh, Similarly, in this also, I have my stop loss currently at where at 1.16262. सो मेरा अभी भी स्टॉप लॉस इसके अंदर ट्रेड के अंदर यही है, एंड आई एम हैप्पी टू होल्ड दिस ट्रेड बिकॉज ये मेरे को पॉजिटिव स्वॉप्स भी दे रहा है एनीवेज. सो आई एम वेटिंग फॉर price to go lower to 1.14632. That is my TP2, and I'm waiting for that to happen. Until then, I'm just holding on to the trade with my stop loss at this level. So अगर worst case scenario में अगर मेरा दोनों में stop loss hit भी होता है, तो I think overall this would be a break even trade, because मैंने partials already ले लिए हैं. So that's completely fine with me, and I'm happy to hold the trade, especially in EU, because that is paying me positive swaps, whereas GBP USD is not really doing that. In fact, I have to pay swaps in order to hold this trade, but that is also fine because I do see strength coming into the dollar uh, in the near term, and so let's see if my idea plays out. As for gold, I am looking for shorts because my bias on gold is currently bearish. So we tested this 0.382 fib level, and then now price is reacting from that level. Uh, for me to be able to sell into gold confidently, I think I would have to see a further retracement to either 0.618 level, or I think this 200-day moving average getting tested like so. So that becomes interesting, but right now I'm just not really that sure, uh, because we've bounced off from a very critical level of support. Even though the macro picture looks like gold wants to go lower because of this, because we have higher inflation, and uh, because Fed is looking to hike rates. So I think there is room towards the downside for the dollar, for gold, sorry. But right now, I just don't really have a trade set up in gold. So oil is currently testing this level of support at around 86.53, and this is actually a monthly level of support because we've been in this range for quite some time now. And I'm very interested to see how oil does here, but we are seeing some selling pressure coming into the picture because of the US and Iran deal. So it will be very interesting to see what oil does next. As for me, मेरी इसमें कोई bias नहीं है. I'm just looking to see what oil does here, and I think if we go lower, of course, inflation expectations will be lowered with time. Uh, but I think that will only happen if we do see a deal materialize. So we still have to wait for that. But kind of right now, oil seems to be holding this level of support right here. And let's see if we get a bounce here today, or if we go lower and break this monthly level of support. So I'm very interested to see that, like I said, and yeah. So with that, let's end the video here. A couple of things that are on my radar are for sure the SpaceX IPO, because I want to see if the money that is flowing in the Nasdaq can support that kind of a valuation, or if we just tank and go lower in that. So that is also something very interesting that we have to watch out for. Then secondly is oil testing this level of support. Like I said, that is also very interesting. And if we do really see a deal materialize, I think that will also be a key aspect of this, of oil, if oil will break support or not. If that deal does materialize, then I think we do go lower with time. But if we don't see that deal materialize, then I think we will go higher again and test some of these levels. So let's see what happens. And these are the two main things that are currently on my radar. Then, like I said, I have a clear bullish bias on the dollar, and I think because of the macro environment that we have, that is very much justified. So with that, I think let's end the video here. This is all that I wanted to discuss in this video. If you guys have any questions or have any concepts that you're not really able to understand, you can always ask them down below in my comment sections. Or if there are any video requirements, or any sort of content that you want me to make, maybe educational videos, or whatever that you guys want, so let me know that below in the comment section, and I will surely answer your questions. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.